Hello and welcome to this episode of the Digital Transformation Dialogues. This series is brought to you by Dassault Systems in association with the Economic Times. My name is Muqbil Ahmer, the Executive Editor at the Economic Times, ETCIO, and the host for today's program. Friends, first of all, I wish and hope that all of you are doing well. Now, before going into systematic discussions, let me place some context to it. Digital transformation is accelerating the world over, particularly it has picked up pace after the onset of the pandemic, which saw unprecedented circumstances. Now today, why are enterprises digitizing? They are digitizing because they want to improve and enhance efficiency on one hand, performance, ROIs, but most importantly, aligning themselves to the new normal. And enterprises who do not put on their digital hats, they risk losing the competitive advantage and they can become laggards. Therefore, going digital is of utmost importance today. And there is one enterprise which is doing this wonderfully well, is AGAPPE Diagnostics Limited. AGAPPE is one of those which has used digital tools and technologies to the utmost advantage. And it is my pleasure to have a conversation with the Managing Director of AGAPPE today. Welcome to the show, Mr. Thomas. I hope you're doing well.
Very well, very well.
Wonderful. So, coming straight to the discussion at hand, Mr. Thomas, I would like to ask your opinion on the fast evolving technology landscape today and why digital transformation is so very important for enterprises, particularly those in the manufacturing sector, particularly those in medical appliances.
We are in the medical device. AGAPPE Diagnostics Limited is focused on in vitro diagnostics, which is part of the laboratory diagnostics. We are always giving the faster results to the patients, which can directly contribute to the end result where patient care. So always the speed of the results are very, very important. So the digital transformation is very important in the context of medical device, especially in the laboratory diagnostics. In addition to this, laboratory diagnostics these days are giving lot of importance. We always say that 10% of the cost of treatment is only for the proper diagnosis. So diagnosis is very important, and which is giving lot of new technologies where the speed and accuracy are most important things.
Right. Now coming to my next point of discussion, which is something that the entire world has been noticing. We have noticed a pandemic of unprecedented proportions the world across. All industries, all sectors, everyone was affected. What was the impact of the pandemic on AGAPPE and largely the entire industry to which you belong?
When we talk about the pandemic, in the beginning there was a lot of issues, confusions, the total lockdowns, and there was no movement of material. It was really mess first couple of weeks. But we are in the medical device field where the laboratory diagnosis are again very important during this pandemic time. So we just cannot sit on the issues. We have to find the new ways how we can give our solution to the needy situations. So we have made lot of changes. The factories were working overnight, and 3 shifts we were working, and we have deployed the dedicated vehicles across India. Thanks to the government, they were giving all permissions for that, and with the dedicated vehicles, we were trying to give our best support to entire laboratory diagnosis. So initial period was difficult, but somehow we managed, and we got a lot of support from the government for achieving these difficult situations.
Right. It is really heartening to know that you had a lot of support systems in place which helped you tide over the extremely difficult circumstances of the pandemic. Now, coming to some kind of a bird's eye view of the sector, what do you think, in your opinion, what are the major challenges that organizations, companies, enterprises in this domain, particularly in the medical devices sector, what are the challenges that they face today?
I would say that there are a vast difference happened before pandemic or before COVID or after COVID. Before COVID, it was a treatment-based focus. Now, today, it's a patient-based focus. That is the big change which happened. So, there are a lot of importance to the new technologies. There are a lot of importance to the digitalization. And during this pandemic time, the patients are not willing to go to the hospital for their issues and treatments. So a lot of telemedicines and digitalization again, it was there deployed. So I would say that, because of the COVID, the entire treatment or diagnostics process became totally different. And the companies who are adopted to digitalization, they became, I would say that, more prominent, and they could able to really win over the situations. And when we talk about AGAPPE, as I've mentioned that we are in the laboratory diagnosis, actually we have seen this sort of changes even much before this pandemic situation.
I totally agree with you, Mr. Thomas, that the world today is divided between pre-COVID and post-COVID times. Very well said. Now, going and making the discussion more granular to the area and domain that you belong to, what are the various technology improvements, innovations, state-of-the-art technologies that you are leveraging, that is being leveraged by the medical devices sector and particularly by AGAPPE Diagnostics in order to improve productivity, efficiencies, and really align yourself to the new normal?
During this pandemic time, what we have done that most of our equipments, we have two types of products. One is instruments which are used for the different detection of the parameters and diseases, that is equipments in the clinical chemistry, immunochemistry, hematology. These are all big instruments or medium instruments. It's all installed in different nooks and corners of India. So we decided that we will be bringing a IoT, that is Internet of Things, of technology to our instruments, so that our service personnel can connect with the customer online. Suppose a customer is having a problem, because most of the laboratories are working 24 hours. So if they have a problem, definitely it can be connected to the service, or we have a online service team. They can connect online and they can give a quick support. So we have made that IoT things in our infrastructure and in the instruments. That is the one point of things what we have done. Second is that some of the instruments which required online calibrations. So through that IoT things, we can always upload the online calibration so that the customer can always download the calibrations data and they can compare with these international QC standards so that the quality will be ensured. Then the third is that we always, for customer support and everything, we have deployed a couple of vehicles. It is called AGAPPE on wheels, which can travel across India, even village, where we have taken the instruments and our services. We will explain, we will call the doctors and we will explain about our different instruments, everything. And so that way we will always introduce the new technology to the customer. So these are the main things which we have done during this time, and it is really successfully working, and we made a strong connect with our customers.
So talking about the sector that you belong to, what are the various other technologies that are being leveraged by enterprises in your sector to take their digital game to another level?
In the medical field, always the customer preferred to get the feel and touch of the instrument before they finalize it, because they are, this product is very important for them. So in the past, we can always arrange the direct demonstrations, or we can call the customer to our facility for the actual demonstration. But during the pandemic, almost 2 years, it was not possible. So what we have done, that we have introduced, for our main instruments, we have introduced the virtual reality based on the augmented technology, so that the customer can virtually transport our instrument and they can have the virtual touch and feel, and they can see that what is this instrument, what is their expectation, whether that expectation is matching with this instrument. So that sort of experience we offer. Probably we may be the first Indian company to have this, and it's really working well.
Going by your responses, I see that you have done a lot of cutting edge technology advancements and innovations, and there are several others which are also happening in the sector at large. So we can safely say that you have taken your digital strategy to a whole new level, and we also understand and we have been informed that there has been a technology implementation by Dassault systems in AGAPPE. So with regard to that implementation, what do you think has its been strengths? How has it helped you in overcoming the challenges that you were speaking about earlier and helping you innovate in the new normal?
Before answering to that, I wanted to give some of our basic, our strategies. AGAPPE, as I mentioned, that we are in this field of in vitro diagnostics. Probably we are, as far as the technology and R&D investment, all these concerned, probably we are the number one in India. Today, we invest about 6 to 7% of our revenue for R&D. More than 12.5% of our employees are only from R&D department. That sort of investment we have. We have a lot of products which are on pipeline for the next 5 to 10 years. Last year, during this pandemic, we have launched the first indigenous hematology systems to India. India is a country which is depending almost 100% on imports for hematology systems, and we are the only Indian manufacturers for that. So lot of this sort of R&D products are coming, and infrastructure wise, we have one of the biggest and best manufacturing for reagents and equipments. Our initial investment started in the infrastructure. Infrastructure means not in the building alone, in the technologies. And again, in the technologies, we have R&D and productions. We have invested a lot of this sort of software infrastructures. And Dassault, I am very happy to say that their association, especially for the SolidWorks and allied products, we have invested, and because of that, we could able to have a 360 view of the entire R&D life cycle. So that is the biggest advantage we got it for, because of that infrastructure additions, especially in the R&D.
Mr. Thomas, these are really, really fantastic numbers where you've spoken about the amount of resources that you invest in R&D particularly, which is around 6 to 7%. That is a huge number, particularly keeping the Indian context in mind, and which is so very crucial to a sector like yours. Now moving on and sticking to my previous preposition. What I want to now ask is, what were the key benefits and outcomes of the technology implementation that was undertaken by AGAPPE systems in terms of productivity, efficiency, ROIs and others?
As I mentioned that about 6 to 7% of our revenue we invest on R&D, and we have a lot of products on the pipeline. So the biggest challenge today on Indian context is data security. So this, because of these implementations, we have a clear data security, because we are dealing with a lot of confidential informations and confidential designs, everything. So we have that sort of security, we got it. Second is that today the most important thing when it comes to the new products also, the speed. Because of these implementations, we could able to bring the product on a faster note to the market. Then the third is that always this, we had a legacy of, lot of other instruments where taking the old designs, everything was always an issue, because we require regular updates, everything was required. So it was an issue. With these implementations, we could able to bring that issues, everything online, and we could able to solve much faster. And I would say that this will help, probably that may be the biggest advantage. This can always give us a freedom to think what the best can to the market, because we will have a total 360 view of these end products. So what we can bring much better to the market, that sort of visual, I think visibility, and we can bring it to the market. So I would say that the speed, the security, the productivity, everything can come because of this implementation.
Mr. Thomas, in your opinion, what is the future of lab diagnostics in India?
Okay, to answer to that, I should give some information about the lab diagnostics against POC, that is point of care diagnostics. In the Western or established countries, the point of care diagnostics is a major portion than the lab diagnostics. But India's case, still people are focused on the lab diagnostics, because India is a country where emergency diagnostics are more than the preventive diagnosis. So when the technology is improving, when the things, as a country, the country is growing, definitely the POC, point of care diagnosis, is going to take a big role in the future. Now, the lab diagnostics, where just for an example, it is the part of a big hospital or a independent diagnostic center, where the patient is going and giving the blood samples, and they are giving the result and showing to the physician or whatever that. Where the POC diagnostics, it can be a small instruments which can give all the result, and which is situated next to a physician or in a ICU or in a operation theater or in a casualty. And the importance of this POC, they always want immediate result. So in the past, always the doctors or OT specialists, they always send the samples to the main lab and wait for the result. But now that is always, it's not needed. They want the immediate result to give the immediate medications. So it is slowly moving to the OTs and ICUs and everything. That is called POC. Now in the future, again, this all will move to the patient or near to the people, where through IoT things, the results can be uploaded in the cloud, where doctor can see that. Patient is no need to visit the doctor. Through online, doctor can get the result, or the physician can get the results. So future is that. So in India also, slowly the lab diagnosis will slowly moving to POC, and later it will move to even directly to the customer diagnosis. That is the future.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas, for this extremely brilliant conversation in which you brought up a lot of very relevant and very pertinent subjects. For example, you spoke about security. You spoke about the need to increase investments in R&D. You also spoke about the innovations and the cutting edge technologies that you have been able to leverage and you are continuing to leverage, and the very symbiotic and mutually beneficial relationship that Dassault Systems has come to acquire in your scheme of things, in your digital strategy. Thanks a lot for joining us today. I hope the audience here would have had a lot to take away in terms of how to go digital, how to take your digital game to the next level. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for giving this opportunity.
Thank you.